16, 10. Kamamashritya dushpuram dambha mana madanvitaha mohad grihitva satgrahan pravartante suchivrataha. Taking shelter of insatiable lust and absorbed in the conceit of pride and false prestige, the demoniac, thus illusioned, are always sworn to unclean work, attracted by the impermanent. The demoniac mentality is described here. The demons have no satiation for their lust. They will go on increasing and increasing their insatiable desires for material enjoyments. Although they are always full of anxieties on account of accepting non permanent things, they still continue to engage in such activities out of illusion. They have no knowledge and cannot tell that they are heading the wrong way. Accepting non permanent things, such demoniac people create their own God, create their own hymns, and chant accordingly. The result is that they become more and more attracted to two things: sex enjoyment and accumulation of material wealth. The word ashuchi vrataha, unclean vows, is very significant in this connection. Such demoniac people are only attracted by wine, woman, gambling, and meat eating. Those are their asuchi, unclean habits, induced by pride and false prestige. They create some principles of religion which are not approved by the Vedic injunctions. Although such demoniac people are most abominable in the world, by artificial means, the world creates a false honor for them. Although they are gliding towards hell, they consider themselves very much advanced. Yeah. Srila Prabhupada summarizes this verse is talking about demoniac mentality. Demoniac mentality is a very dangerous trap because there is no sense of direction. There is no sense of direction. So one is not able to differentiate or discriminate between whether he's doing right or wrong. no sense of direction. Secondly, uh, so there is no sense of discrimination or direction. Secondly, there is great misery associated with demonic mentality. Great misery. Thirdly, there is no satiation. So the craving and the intoxication goes on increasing, goes on increasing. So the misery is increasing, the satiation is not there, the directionality is lost. So owing to the intoxication, a demoniac person becomes completely blind or completely, so there is no recognition, completely blind, not able to recognize his own suffering plight. So anxieties and disturbance has a great connection. Anxieties and disturbance have a great connection uh, to material desires, because anxieties are only caused because of material desires. It is only owing to material desires that there are anxieties. Otherwise, if one gives up the material attachments and material desire, there is no anxiety. The anxiety is only coming because of material desires. The material anxiety only comes because of these material desires. And material anxiety is very painful. And material anxiety is very unhealthy. Very painful, very unhealthy. So we see material anxiety spoils people's health. Because of material anxiety, people are in an irritated, frustrated state. And therefore, anywhere and everywhere, the person behaves wrongly. Material anxiety leads to a permanent anomaly or a permanent disorder. And that is disorder is seen in every facet of life. So, seen people who are battered with material anxiety, so their dealings and behavior with anyone and everyone becomes very, they always behave in the wrong way. The slightest of provocation or the imagination of provocation, they blast out, they blurt out. So this is the point. This is the point. Anxieties are only existing because of material desire. So if you want to reduce anxieties, now one has to, or we can say this crushing anxiety, then one should give up material desires and material attachments. The more one gives up material hooks, the more one gives up material hooks, the more one will be able to access a platform beyond anxiety, the material anxiety. Now we may say spiritual life is also anxiety is there in service to Krishna, and that anxiety is said that it is welcome. So what is the difference between material anxiety and spiritual anxiety? So we will see spiritual anxiety will increase one's dependence on Krishna. Spiritual anxiety is going to increase one's absorption and dependence on Krishna. Spiritual anxiety will reflect in increasing one's servitude, whereas material anxiety does the opposite effect. Material anxiety acts like a poison. It weakens the person. It shatters the person. So that is how we can test it, is it not? This is how we can test or differentiate between spiritual anxiety and material anxiety. Spiritual anxiety is holistic, whereas material anxiety is crushing. Material anxiety is crushing. So as a progressive sadhaka, in this way, one can actually measure whether the anxieties we are taking, it may be the service of Krishna. But whether the anxiety is material and spiritual, we can understand by the effect. It may be service of Krishna, but we may be doing it with a mixed mentality. That is the point. So we have to be, so this is a very nice benchmark on which we can test. So it is explained here that whenever we accept the non-permanent things or the non-permanent things, we'll end up in the zone of anxiety. And therefore, these materialistic people, the demoniac people, they're always full of anxiety because they're accepting the non-permanent things. So we have to change our attachments, our hooks, like that. So, so one can be situated in the right place, but maybe continuing to linger around having the wrong hook. So we have to unhook from the material factors and hook ourselves to the spiritual factors. That will actually elevate our consciousness. That is what is going to actually elevate our consciousness. How to unhook? So how to unhook from material factor to spiritual factor? Yeah. So the point is that when we have material hooks, we are going to land up in a miserable state. It is going to be very painful. It is going to be very miserable, and a person will not be able to tolerate. Then one has to sit down and take guidelines from the Shastras that why is that problem coming, and which is the which is the problem coming, and then one has to learn from the Shastras. So the obedience to the instructions of the Lord, obedience to the injunctions of the Shastras will help one unhooking. That is the point. Because one will be able to, the Shastras are pointing out, this is asatya, this is satya. Not like that. We keep on clinging on to asatya, we will keep on suffering. It will be immense, tormenting pain. Immense pain will be there. Immense pain. Unbearable, intolerable pain is going to come if we can cling on to material anxiety. Because demons are like that. Demons are like that. Now, the benefit the demons have is that they are intoxicated because of false pride. As practicing devotee may not be that intoxicated, but the pain he will experience. It's a more miserable situation. The demons have a benefit. They are intoxicated, so they are not able to realize the pain. But a devotee is intoxicated, and he is not intoxicated so much because he is a practicing devotee, but he will realize the pain. So then one gets the point, then one can get the realization that yes, I need to change. And actually, if we take shelter of the Shastras, we take shelter of the Acharya, the process of Krishna consciousness, we will be able to understand where is the material hook. So therefore, the process of yoga is to step by step, keep reducing one's material expectations. Keep reducing one's material expectations and keep increasing our spiritual expectations. Keep increasing our spiritual expectations. So even in the service of Krishna, if we have material expectations, we will see that we will be miserable. Like even in preaching. So you may go preaching. If you are happy preaching Krishna consciousness, if you are happy helping people, then no problem. But the moment we add in expectations, problems will start. If we expect that, okay, these people, they should help me in my services, or they should give a helping hand. Problem will come. This is the material expectation. Spiritual service, material expectation. Problem will come. We have to reduce our expectations. And so how to reduce our expectations? How to reduce our expectations? We reduce our expectations by increasing our spiritual expectations, or spiritual engagements and spiritual shelters. So hook means where are we taking shelter of? What are we taking shelter of? If you are taking shelter of fan following, material expectation. Okay, so they are saying that they are not able to hear.
You are recording this session.
Okay, I think so. I think so should be proper now. It's all about mic settings, I think. Yeah. Okay, so
obedience. मतलब like जानिया सुनिया विषय खाइलो आप avoid that situation.
How to increase our obedience? How to increase means become obedient. There is no how to increase obedience. This is just become obedient, like that. So just become obedient. So that happens by doing it, by pushing ourselves to do it. There is no how to increase obedience. You become obedient. That's how. So if somebody is a bit towards Krishna, a bit towards Maya, the Krishna side will give him nourishment, the Maya side will give him beating. So yes, that will happen. That will happen. So so the point is that one will see if one is once one leg in spiritual life, one leg in material life, a person will experience that nothing is working out. Neither bhakti is working out, neither material life is working out. A person is a failure both the places. Everywhere the vehicle is stuck. Neither materially he is able to achieve anything, no, because he cannot be full materialistic, neither spiritually he is achieving anything because he is not giving up the material hooks and anchors, like that. So one way one has to drive. One way one has to drive. So material energy will give very nice justification of everything. So if we are alert, we can very easily test that we are going in the wrong direction and rectify our mentality. The moment we see things are getting hooked, we have to change our expectations. We have to take an inventory of ourselves. That okay, I am getting hooked to this material expectation. This is what I am thinking is a material expectation. I have to give it up. Better let me increase my service attitude. Better let me increase my service attitude. That is the whole point. Actually, the principle of the Shastras is so. Now the question is that okay, when people don't reciprocate in preaching, we feel hurt. Is it material expectation? Is spiritual expectation? There is an element of material expectation there. There is no doubt about it. Because the point is that uh, 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 because the point is that no, we no. So there is an expectation. It's up to people how they want to reciprocate. The free will, the Krishna is not taken away. Millions of lifetimes, Krishna is trying to help out the living entity. Living entity is not surrendered to Krishna. Still, the Lord is continuing. And I like that. So we have to follow the same dharma. That is what is preaching. Therefore, you see, how do we decrease our material expectation? The materialistic person, they think of enjoyment, or they think of expansion or life in terms of progeny. So they feel okay, let me have progeny, and these people will be my exact copies, and they will be the exact replica of my material desire satisfaction. Whatever I could not satisfy in my own body, I will get them satisfied through the children. So that is what a person feels, but it never happens. So then a person is completely jolted out. The person is completely moved out. And now you reduce expectation in terms of preaching. Our expectation is less from people. So we are saying, okay, I don't want anything for myself. You become good devotee. Now, if he's taking time to become devotee, or he's becoming different level of devotee, that's his choice. Actually, we give complete training. So therefore, what we do in preaching is that we don't limit to one people, two people. Are you become devotee? You're the only fellow whom I'm banking on. You have to become devotee. No, so we keep our net wide. Is it not? But okay, we are there to help anyone and anyone who wants to sincerely take to Krishna consciousness. If you see that, okay, now the batch is done complete, some of them have become now, devotees, they are serving, nicely, like that, they have become mature, then we can go out and help more people and more people and more people and more people, like that. So now for people who are not reciprocating, at least our behavior should be such that, okay, if he is not able to take up to the level which I thought he will, okay, so let me reduce my expectation and increase my service to him. What is my service to him? At least give that person a positive impression of Krishna consciousness. So if he is able to chant one round, okay, let me inspire him to chant one round lifelong. At least, is it not? So, or at least keep him favorable to Krishna consciousness, or at least keep him festival to festival. Is it not? So, it always works when we reduce our expectation and increase our service. Whenever we choke up, it's going to be difficult. Is it not? Whenever we choke up, it's going to be difficult. So we have to understand that that my focus should be on increasing my endeavors. Is it not? So increasing my endeavors, increasing my endeavors, increasing my servitude. Actually, then only it works out. No, the material attachments are going to create a big problem. Okay, so now the next point which is explained here is that unclean, ashuchi vrataha, unclean vows. So the demoniac people, Prabhupada says they are attracted to two things: accumulation of material wealth and sex enjoyment. So they have a great devotion to sex, and the sex enjoyment and accumulation of material wealth. So, and Prabhupada is telling that ashuchi vrataha, they do now ghastly, unclean habits. Ghastly and unclean habits. Yeah. So very nonsensical, ghastly and unclean habits. So we can see weird patterns. Weird patterns. Just like in colleges, sometimes after college hours in schools and colleges and universities, it is very difficult to go to that college area. Now I remember I was in. It's very difficult to go to that college area because a whole road, boys, girls are doing all kinds of activities. Very difficult to, So, yeah. So that happens actually. So why? Because unclean people. Nowadays the notion of people is what, that romance means that which should be done outdoors. Then it is something substantial because it is being done outdoors. It should be substantial. Very nonsensical, is it not? Very animalistic, is it not? Now, many times, I don't know. Many times it just appears as if people get feelings, loving feelings for each other only when they go outdoor. Yeah, yeah. Only So all kinds of. Sometimes it looks so cheap. And now we see in trains. We have seen in Calcutta in the metro itself. It is a 15-minute journey. Please control yourself. After that, wherever you land, whatever you want to do, that's your personal life. 15, 20 minutes, 4, 10 metro stops. There only, one has to embrace, one has to kiss, one has to hold the hand of each other. Is it not? You've seen in metros, very nasty. Kolkata metros, you've seen very nasty. Yeah, young people, they feel that, okay, that you so they feel that this kind of notion. Weird activity. This is ashuchi vrataha. Weird activities. Weird activities. Unclean vows, weird activities. So, and it just doesn't remain weird, it goes abominable, is it not? It even goes abominable. So, it goes to the zone of extent of being abominable, actually. Just like there was a soccer player, so he had this victory, so he wanted to celebrate, So, so he filled wine in his shoe and he was drinking with that, celebrating the success, Yeah, weird activities. He's a soccer player. Hmm. Weird and abominable. And sometimes we seen. I have seen in Melbourne. I have seen in Melbourne. So I saw there was a big marriage ceremony, near the beach being celebrated. One day I was coming back, actually. So just next to the temple there is beach. So just 2 minutes walk. Uh, and I was coming back, and the evening hours, the night was falling in and all that, and there was a big celebration and all that, you know. So so I saw two old fellows were coming in, uncle auntie were there. I thought they're the mother and father of the bridegroom, like that. No, I just felt like that, you know. Yeah. And later I came to know that they were getting married. That was there. So one fellow, that was his fourth marriage, and one lady, that was his fifth, sixth marriage. Very respectable fellows. The fifth and sixth marriage. And everybody is celebrating. And I was wondering, these people, when they will die, they don't know, but they are, and they are drinking, they are drinking wine, and they are toasting, and they are, and they are embracing, and they are posing and photographing and all that. Because they were photographing and all. I was wondering, bride and groom, where they are, ये तो uncle auntie दिख रहे हैं. Now searching. Later it clicked to me. अरे यही है, These are only bride and groom, like that. So people take to some weird life, actually, and uh, and mind it, they were respectable because at least they were marrying. Because the Western world is filled with the mentality of free living, live in 1 month, 1 year contract, 1 month contract, 1 week contract, 1 week stand, one night stand, 1 day stand. That is Western world, like that. We have seen even professors in Melbourne University. One fellow is 62, and he stays with a girlfriend. I don't know which number girlfriend, but so abominable, weird, demoniac. That's demoniac mentality. So they are most abominable. Like we saw, there was one professor in MIT, and he used to give very classic lectures. We don't want to go into names, but he would give very classic lectures, became very famous and all that. A professor of physics and MIT, and he was like a star, all over such powerful. He would explain. He had that power, like that, and uh, and then later he was found in dozens and dozens of cases of sexual harassment on the lady students. And this fellow was 70, as far as I remember. This fellow was 70. You know. Similarly, the other day, Harshit was telling us about so he had told me so many Nobel laureates, their lifestyles completely miserable. Yeah, many of them very much attached to women mongers. So what is the use of that extra intelligence when the mentality is that of a demon, So weird. So they are abominable, but they pass on as very respectable, This is Prabhupada is saying is exactly true. Exactly true. You know, so many Nobel laureates had been, just leading a life, dedicated to sensuality and animalism, like that. What is the use of their intelligence? Better be a donkey, and follow some principles in life. That is the point. So
that in his personal life. Because Ankit Singh showed me a movie, and that was like, in the end, the conclusion was so what he was a homo, but he did such a कोई कि ये ब्रिटेन और उसका चाइना का कुछ तो था, पता नहीं किसका फाइट था, 2 कंट्रीज का, उसमें ही प्लेड द मेजर रोल, सब सैचुरेट वर्सेस दूसरे का आदमी के सब पता चल गया, लेकिन पर्सनल लाइफ में बिल्कुल शैलो, उसके बाद कोई रहता नहीं क्योंकि तो लेकिन ये यंगस्टर ये मूवी देख के ये कंक्लूड कर रहे हैं और दे want to convey this message to us. But this is not okay because they couldn't control the basic sexual right.
yes. So the question is that, okay, so sometimes people say that, okay, whoever one is in the personal life, we don't worry about that. We should just talk about contribution. That contribution is tainted with animalism. That is why in material society so much advancement is happening, but along with that, what is happening even unknowingly and unconsciously is that people are becoming animals. People are becoming animals. Like, say for example, you see here in KGP, students don't come here to become don't have an explicit desire to become an animal. That, okay, let me now fuel my all sensual drives and all that. They many of them, they'll end up with a proper motivation that, okay, I'll study, I'll get a good career. But the moment they land up here in 4 years, they become hardcore, hardcore, completely trained animals. Is it not? The lust, the ego is fueled like anything. Is it not? This is what happens. So we may say, okay, it's a material contribution, but because an animal is a demon is bringing about that material contribution, he is adding his demoniac, no, unconsciously he is adding that demoniac, his demonism in the thing, and therefore we are just accepting. That is why modern day science, we just follow modern day science, we become an animal. How do we become an animal if the modern day science is just a tool? Yeah, because it's the motivation comes in with the with the invention, with the speech. That's the point, actually. So why, if it is only technical institute, why the people are becoming degraded? And that's true everywhere and anywhere in the Western world. The products are so degraded. Why it is being degraded? Because if it is just technical education, if it is just matter, because it's not just matter. That's the whole point. It's not just matter. Our behavior and our character is most important. Our activities are tainted with our behavior and our character, like that. So taking recluse of the activity and no and separating the activity from the person who is initiated that activity is wrong, because we get conducted with that mentality. And that is why the proof is the modern day science is filled with mentality of demonism. Why? Because demons are driving it. Although it may say it's just chemicals, it's just matter. We are just talking about lasers. We are just talking about uh, so you may talk about anything and you may make some gadgets which may look okay, but everything is fueling that same sensual animalistic drive. So that's why character is most important than activities. Character is most important than activities. Otherwise, it becomes uh, otherwise it appears innocent, but it is very deadly. That is the point. Okay. So then in question. The instruction of the scriptures is celibacy. है ना?
And marriage is for procreation. Bhakti Dharma says same-sex people marrying. What is the outside versus marriage?
Okay, so the question is that there are some genuine homosexuals right from birth. The scriptures mention about it, but no, first of all, their number is very less, like that. Secondly, we have to understand, so then, if you tell them, okay, don't marry the same sex and all, then is it not too much of a demand for them? Actually, the Vedas are always talking about sense control. The Vedas are always talking about sense control. Now, the point is that we may say it is too much of a demand, but actually, we have to understand one thing: why a person is born in a homosexual species. A homosexual species, you know, that means from birth they are like that only. No, no, there are two types of homosexuals. Now, there are two types of homosexuals. Aishankar is also told. There are very few people who in their genes only it's like that they are just not attracted to. Their coding is different. Their internal subtle body coding is that they don't feel any attraction for a female. They only or whatever the
They
same sex.
respect celibacy.
No, so now the point is now we are saying okay, it is their right that we allow them to marry and all that. So first of all, and allow them to first of all, we have to understand a homosexual species is actually a punishment which is given to them. So it is a species lower than a normal human being, like that. So and that means it is a disease species. So when disease is high, the prohibition is also more. We have to understand. So person can say, okay, no, when the disease is high, the prohibition is more. One has to prohibit himself, because the disease is high. One has to prohibit himself. So what a homosexual should do peacefully, he should marry the way society marries, you know, even if he's not attracted, you know.
As a matter of duty, he should.
Yeah, so Prabhupada told them, okay, you may not know. Prabhupada did that. Prabhupada asked, some homosexual devotees. He said, you marry a girl, you beget children. Okay, you're saying I'm not attracted, so what? Do it as a. If you are not attracted, you can do it as service to Krishna, and that is how you should lead it. So one cannot say that okay, because I'm feeling that attraction, let me give in to it. No, है there is whatever be the case, one cannot transcend, one cannot unnecessarily fuel. So one has to recognize that my disease is more, so I cannot no, I should not take that allowance, because I am more diseased, like that. Like say for example, so suppose we see sometimes one of our devotees is ill, so there is a big feast, everybody is enjoying, but this fellow is ill, what we can do, so many times I used to find myself in that situation. What can I do, you know and I am just taking plain rice, and everybody is taking all feast, no problem, what can be done, because I know I'm more diseased, I cannot take it. That's the point. So bodily consciousness is never to be flared, and justifying bodily consciousness as a need is actually wrong. One has to see how to come out of bodily consciousness, not that okay, how I will fuel it, how I will fuel it.
But no, even the spiritual institutions, like this, what is it, even Demonaic, attraction to other person just for the sake of sensuality is wrong in some reasons. Even in the heterosexual marriages, if we feel I don't feel attracted toward my wife, so it cannot be just a sensual attraction. It should be dutiful and there should be Krishna
So
centered
there has
devotion.
to be some sense of principles which have to come in, some dharma which has to come in. Now otherwise, it is of no use. Uh,
Very
so the whole point is that society has to be structured towards elevation, not toward degradation. If the directionality is degradation, then it is a demoniac society, which is the modern society. If the structure is elevation, then it will be proper.
no, no,
Then it
but
will be
it's
proper.
not Bharata Prabhu. If he's getting attracted to women, I think you should understand he's diseased, he's not a body. Same way somebody says, I'm just attracted to kids. If somebody is pedophile, you justify his cycle also. No, that is
Yeah.
not
So as Devahuti is saying, you cannot justify a pedophile. He says I'm attracted